Thank you, Mr. Morton, for your interesting point of view. And now let's leave the floor to Mr. Iacomini.
Buongiorno a tutti, volevo presentare cosa Cargo X è in italiano, però lo farò in inglese così che capiscono anche gli ospiti. Thank you very much, Assagenti, for inviting me here and to present what Cargo X have done. We at Cargo X, we have a very clear vision and inspiration. Keep it simple. So that's the reason why we have a live platform for exchanging of bill of ladings. To speak about what is a bill of lading here in front of such an estimated audience is, I think, a nonsense. Everyone knows what is it, but I'm quite sure that some of you don't know the history of bill of lading. And that's why very important where we started our journey of development. The first bill of lading, if you know or not, it was issued 1397. And before that, there was a very similar document called Book of Lading. So if we generalize, we can say that the bill of lading is in a paper way, in a hard copy, from 11th century on, almost 1,000 years, quite a long period. Richard spoke about that a little bit, and we will try to elaborate a little more. Sorry, I have to go back just to mention another thing. In between the Bill of Lading and the Book of Lading, there was a period of a conqueror, Genghis Khan. Leave apart why he is so popular. Do you know what he have developed? He was the first courier service in the world. He had in his, let's call it fleet, more than 50,000 horses, more than 1,000 oxen, and so on, 6,000 boats, just for exchanging mails and orders. And that was the fastest and the first living courier service in the world. Why I mention this? Because I will come back to this when I will explain what we have done. First, second, third industrial revolution, what they brought. At least the similar document to Bill of Lading are in those three, or were in these three revolutions digitalized. Checks, shares, treasury bonds, and so on and so on. What about the Bill of Lading? With the start of the fourth industrial revolution, is still in a hard copy. I know that there is a saying, don't fix it if it's broken. The hard copy of Bill of Lading is not broken. It's just slow, it's expensive to exchange, can be stolen, can be lost, so on and so on. So a lot of problems come out of this. The mission of Cargo X is come out of all these issues. So slow exchange, expensive, and so on and so on. And we fixed our mission to reshape the way of exchanging the bill of lading. And that's what we have done. If someone would like to see how our platform is working, I can show you during the break later on. But still, we have to go back to blockchain a little bit, and then after that discuss about what we are offering. So One additional question is, why is a 1,000 years old document still on paper? There is a reason. The main reason, by my opinion, is trust. Because all the existing digital way of exchanging or transferring bill of lading are still, maybe we can say, uncertain, or we cannot trust them. Every one of you using internet is exposed to cybercrime, to making certainty, trust, and it's very difficult to ensure it. And that's the reason why today a bill of lading as a document of title worth, I don't know, 10 million US dollars, no one is sending it by email. It's crazy. Our opinion at CargoX is that combining this technology, which is already a lot of years on the market, as internet, with the new distributed ledger technologies or blockchain, which offer some additional ways of trust and security, it's a good option to now start thinking about a different way of exchanging bill of ladings. Oops. Comparison in between what we have done and the old way. So I will not speak about the actual way. I will speak about what we are offering. Within our platform, security is assured. We are speaking about a very, very high-speed transaction. We are not speaking about days as with the courier service. We are speaking about seconds. Cost, almost nothing. I can explain later on if someone would like to know how much does it cost sending a bill in a digital way and get till the release. Another thing, Professor Amatrano spoke about that, and it's the way the thing that the industry right now still don't understand what is a blockchain and what is a cryptocurrency. There is a big difference in between. Majority of the people, it's mixing it together. So blockchain is equal than cryptocurrency. Is not. Blockchain is a technology for transferring value. Cryptocurrency is just one of the ways how blockchain adoption, blockchain was adopted by the financial industry. Okay, it's a value, it's in some sense also method of payment, so on and so on, but is not equal. Blockchain is just the technology. Here are some examples of the major blockchain patent holder in last year. So, and you see admirable companies, well-known companies from the financial institution, from the industry. They already implemented several blockchain solutions in their business. What is very, very interesting is the latest Deloitte survey on a global blockchain. And they find it out that blockchain technology is broadly scalable and will eventually achieve mainstream adoption, 84%. And what was the most interesting thing in this survey, is that supply chain was the industry #1 to adopt this technology. What is really a good information and good confirmation that all we are here, we are from this industry, that we are on a good way to do it. So a few words about CargoX. So We have a live platform, as I said before, to digital transact the bill of lading. The issuer is uploading the BL on the platform and then can be transferred further to the release agent on a digital way. Additional features, I can speak about that later on during the break, as I said, but one very important thing, we are not issuing the CargoX bill of lading. You are issuing your own bill of lading. What we are doing, we are just replacing the couriers. That was the reason why I mentioned Genghis Khan previously. So every one of you who is eligible to issue a bill of lading using our platform, he's uploading or transferring your bill of lading. And that's very important. Because sometimes a lot of people is asking us if we are issuing our own bill of lading. Not at all. And if you want to use our platform, what do you need? Any investment? No. Internet access, computer, registration, it will take you up to 4 minutes, and that's it. Everything else is on hand. Few words about the technology behind this platform. Already today was said a lot about blockchain technology. I will explain you where and how we have developed. So we develop our platform on a public network. We can discuss what is a public, what is a private, and why we decided to go to a public. We are operating on the Ethereum network. Ethereum is well known for cryptocurrency. We use their network to create this platform for exchange of bill of ladings. Ethereum network it consists of more than 30,500 nodes around the world. Quite a big number. In comparison with a private blockchain, which can be composed of 3 servers around the world. I think that you can imagine the difference in between this. If you want to, as Professor said previously, if you want to hack, to stall the document, and to do some malicious action on the blockchain, can you think about to hack 30,500 nodes, 51% of 13,500 nodes at once? I think that the answer is quite reasonable why we choose the public blockchain and not a private one. Second, there is no central authority. There is no ruler ruling the public blockchain. And that was another reason why we decided to go on this network. We think that there is quite a big difference having the solution on a public where everyone is open to access and there is no certain central or ruling authority managing the network. If you would like to do something what is not written in the smart contract, the only way is to change 51% of the nodes. And that's additional feature which we are really proud of. I have a short video. I hope that it will work because maybe it will. No sound, huh?
Lading is the oldest standardized document in cargo shipping. This 3 smart BL is just a few clicks away and available at a mere 10% of the price. If the BL is lost or stolen, it takes weeks to issue a new one. In the meantime, the cargo is already at the destination port, and the importer is paying hundreds of dollars per day in demurrage costs. With CargoX Smart BL, this can never happen. Let us show you how easy it is to create and send a Smart BL using an everyday example. As soon as the cargo is loaded, the logistics company creates a new Smart BL in our web-based application and sends it to the exporter. This and all of the following steps utilize the latest encryption protocols to transfer the digital BL in a matter of minutes and at a fraction of the cost associated with paper-based BLs. When payment for goods is received, the exporter transfers the Smart BL to the importer with just a few clicks. Sounds too good to be true? It's actually even better. The inner workings of the blockchain are based on open standards and decentralized. Most importantly, they are verifiable by anyone at any time. For our users, this means the ultimate security, enterprise-level reliability, and peace of mind. Within hours of the ship leaving port, the importer receives the Smart BL and the transfer to the release agent can be made. Well ahead of its cargo, the Smart BL is already at its final destination, and the goods can be released as soon as the ship arrives. No delays, no surprises, no worries. Cargo X, into the future, full speed ahead.
I think that the video was too heavy for and too complex for this computer. Okay, never mind. If someone would like to see the video, it's available on YouTube or on our webpage, and I also can share with you all the presentations. We are calling our platform blockchain document transaction system, which it's really user-friendly. If someone is asking me, and yesterday I explained to Richard, that is a mixture in between an email and an e-banking system, and it's really very, very easy to use. We are really very keen and looking forward to be user-friendly as much as we can. Someone will ask about what we have done till now and what are the future plans. So we are on a daily basis, we are registering new companies, forwarding companies and VOCCs on our platform. We have a model that we are integrating as a standalone product, especially NVOCCs on our platform. For the other side, we are offering this solution to several different bigger platforms or ecosystem, and we are integrating ourselves as just one of the additional functionalities. And that's the case where we are already discussing with several companies operating port community systems, forwarding association, as for example Global Link, Global Value, OceanX. We are integrating in their systems as an additional functionality for their members. And we are now approaching also different consolidators when they will use our solution as their own standalone product. From the other side, I'm sure that there will be a question, what about the financial institution, banks, letter of credit, as an example. We are working now on it. The solution for the letter of credit will be available Q2 2019. We are working now with 3 banks on a proof of concept, and it will go in a test on a test basis. It will be out end of December, beginning of January, and available on the market Q2. Additional, we have also the solution for different documents beside the bill of lading. There was mentioned certificate of origin previously in previous presentation. We have also an option to add a certificate of origin on our platform or other different original documents. We are working now on a pilot project in Switzerland to see how it can be adopted by the regulator, by the custom in Switzerland, and the results will be out also in beginning of 2009. We made some trial shipments, and then we will see the final decision of the custom. That's really very in brief. I will be very happy during the break to explain you a little bit more if there is any interest. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation of your product. And now, last but not least, Mr. Kotylieski. Thank you.
Sorry, I don't see my presentation. I'm not a power user of PowerPoint, so please excuse me. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very excited to be here today, and thanks for the invitation. May I ask you to raise hands, those who are in a ship brokerage business? Okay, great. And agents, please hold your hands for a while. Ship brokers and agents, ship owners, cargo owners? Okay, great. So I see that almost half of the audience are in the shipping and ship brokerage and agency. So I think that, may I suppose that you are somehow concerned about the statement that the blockchain will force intermediaries out of the shipping business. Let's start from there. But a bit about myself. My name is Vasily, and I am founder of OpenSea Pro. It is an online ship charter and marketplace. For more than 10 years, I worked as a freight forwarder, ship broker for 7 years. I was also a charterer and a ship owner as well. Initially, I was going to tell you about our platform, but as soon as we haven't implemented blockchain in it, I decided to skip this. So just, well, let's instead focus on smart contracts, because I think that that's the technology based on blockchain, and that is practical way of doing shipping business, let's say in next few years. Definitely this technology won't be applied next year or on 2 years horizon, I mean for chartering process, but on the horizon of 5 to 10 years, it will be totally different story. So, few words about a smart contract, because previous speakers told more about blockchain and some implementations. So, except of its use as a public ledger, one of the biggest revolutions that the blockchain could bring in the shipping industry is the smart contracts. These are contracts in the form of a computer program which is run and self-executed in blockchain and which shall automatically implement the terms and conditions of any agreement between the parties. This could be a sales contract, a charter party, bill of lading as a part of the charter party, different certificates on cargo or ship, and so on. So this digital charter party, for example, and bill of lading terms will be standard part of the software. This way we are moving to a digital market where a contract will be published by one of the parties and the other party will negotiate all the conditions directly via the blockchain network. Then the smart contract will be executed by a computer network. I ask you to imagine it because it's, I think it is hard to imagine, but let's assume that we are in the future. So the smart contract will be executed by a computer network that uses consensus protocols to determine the sequence of actions which result from the contract's code, and this way to automate calculations, approvals, and other transaction activities. Before the use of blockchain, this type of smart contract was impossible to happen because parties of the agreement would maintain separate databases as it is right now. But now, with a shared database that runs a blockchain protocol, the smart contracts auto-execute and all parties validate the outcome instantaneously without wasting time on further exchanges and without the need of a third-party intermediary. It's not only the ship broker, it could be a bank or any other parties. That's interesting, right? But what are the latest developments and who is on track? I assume that most of you heard a lot of big names diving into blockchain this year. Here are a few recent examples. So, Port of Rotterdam, Samsung. Valencia. So there are a number of ports and banks, because almost all banks has their own solutions based on blockchain, and they are pretty excited of moving it into shipping as well. We also see port operators and associations, as our friend here. Border services, different countries, but just to name a few. Container lines, also as already mentioned, and tech companies, because every solution built by some tech company or startup. And recently we've seen big four grain traders, so they are also in this business. And what are we all going to achieve with the help of all the rivals, all the examples, and as I said, on, let's say, 2 years horizon? Most of all, I think that we will get wider adoption of different implementations of this technology in real life, and as we are all concerned in shipping particularly. Because the shipping process is very complex, and I don't think that we will have just one, let's say, platform or solution or application to solve all the issues. But for some period of time, there will be number of solutions which will fix, again, it's my assumption, which will fix very specific problems. And from the other hand, there will be a new wave of, let's say, after the wider adoption of those test period and more stakeholders involved, there will be a new wave of the solutions which will be built on top of current one. But what we all will get from, let's say, that period of trials, most of all we will get improved quality and reliability of documents and data with reduced review time and seamless transfer of transaction data to customers. Definitely we will have greater visibility across supply chain movements, underpinning transactions, leading to reduced costs associated with shipping, storage, and wait times. We will also get standardized data using technologies accessible to all players of the shipping market. Compatibility with other applications supporting electronic and digital solutions, providing an end-to-end experience for users. Users could be just regular people, like B2C segment, or companies, B2B segment. We will also get increased efficiency and transparency, because right now I think that you will agree that the shipping market is only in your mailbox, so it is almost invisible. As soon as you have, let's say, some distribution list of emails, that is your market. You don't know, let's say, 90% of the whole world market, and you probably don't need to know them. But for all of us, I mean, the shipping people, one of biggest issues is to find a new client, for example, because we all have businesses and we are going to develop it. So I think that some kind of platform, and let's say there will be a solution which will help to for all of us to communicate between each other, and we all will trust to that solution. So as we already have with our platform, this is like a single window for every newcomer to find a counterparty from all over the world. And this process is very simple. Again, it takes just a few minutes. So this is main development of the technology. But the most interesting question which I would like to leave to you is how will the blockchain and smart contracts affect the shipbroker's life or agent's life or any intermediary? Because right now I think it is complex. The shipping process is complex due to big number of intermediaries being involved in the chain. And it's not only about money, but it is also about the trust, the speed, and the effort. So I'd like to address this question to all of you. But don't think that it could be done in next 2 years again. Instead, please imagine your work environment on at least 10 years horizon. Any ideas? Who are the brave? Suggestions. Okay, then the question, will the shipbroker still exist? Yes. Okay, agent? Okay. My personal opinion is that our work environment will be very different. And in short, I think that as we all have smartphones in our pockets, I think the business will be built on our smartphones. I mean, it will be much easier to handle the process. Definitely we will use our laptops, something like that, but still, the technology is going into your pocket. I mean, we already have the power of our computers in our pocket. So this is the easiest and the fastest way of communication between people. So why not communicate between businesses? So I think that the way the technology is going, it will be definitely concentrated in our pockets. I also believe that the role of intermediaries will be different, and that is the main thing which we need to focus right now, because it helps, I hope, everybody to survive in this new wave of changes. And I think that our business will be much more technically advanced and locally focused. What does it mean is that every time when you are looking for the partner or you have a client who is looking to ship one cargo the cargo from one port to another, you are looking for if you have already an established connection in that particular area. And if not, then you will look for a reliable partner there and facilitate all the business relations. But as soon as we will have, let's say, common platform or a few platforms, then it will be easier for the client, for the original, the cargo owner to connect with the ship owner directly, if they are ready for such kind of communications. If not, then definitely they will also be still interested to communicate via ship brokers and agents as well. And in that particular case, the ship broker should be very focused on his area of expertise in, let's say, some segment of business, the size, the type of commodity, the location. So all that stuff will be much more important in future. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you for our speakers. And now, if are there some questions from you to our speakers?
I was mentioning the smartphone. I mean, that's part of the blockchain, based on the blockchain. But I think, as also mentioned before, not all of the new solutions will be based and should be based on the blockchain technology. But as for now, as we see it, let's say from the earliest days or earlier steps of this technology adoption, there is sense of building the shipping industry on top of blockchain technology.
So, in line with what you said, Mr. Hoffman, something that must be shared.
Yes?
Sorry, because he said that we should share between authorities and customers and sellers, because otherwise you have different platforms that cannot talk to each other, correct?
Yes, for sure. I mean, I totally agree, because API, as also mentioned, it's next level. Because let's say tomorrow we will have dozens of different applications which will be built on blockchain or whatever other technologies, but they will have a solution for the specific problem. And then, let's say I have a solution for the issuance of certificate of origin, for example. Then another platform using for phyto certificates. So all of them should be somehow working with each other. And as we see right now, I hope that you also noticed like this news. For example, shipping registers also applying blockchain. So let's say we will see digital class certificates for the ship. We will see all the certificates needed for the shipment, not only on cargo side, but on the ship side as well. And that is the role of IMO organization. So they will develop the standards, and only when all the parties or main countries will adopt them, then we will have some business cases.
Ma'am?
Oh, sorry. You go.
Thank you. I think there are two questions. Firstly, just going back on to the IMO, ship certificates and those things. The IMO is a very good organisation. However, it moves at a very, very slow pace. It doesn't move quickly. It's almost like a glacier because it works on consensus. Like a blockchain, it's consensus. However, there are 162 countries trying to come to consensus. So I was in one meeting and they were talking about ship certificates and the Marshall Islands, because they're one of the key players, and they still wanted to see a stamp on the screen. That's the level that we're dealing with governments. So until the governments start changing their attitudes in terms of certificates and what they require, the industry is still going to be behind. In terms of the blockchain and the interoperability, everybody talks about blockchain, it gets rid of the middleman. But all I keep hearing are lots of platforms that we have to use in order to use blockchain. So I'm not sure we're getting rid of the middleman. I think we might be creating lots more middlemen in order to create some of the solutions. So it's quite an interesting paradox that blockchain and the technology is about reducing the need for multiple platforms. But when we hear about the implementation, you have to go to a certain technology provider in order to use it. And as a result, you're using the middleman. As PCSs, and coming back to the question, what's the role of the ship agent and the ship broker in the future? All these platforms do, like a port community system, it allows you to do your job better. You have better quality information. It gives you more time to do what you should be doing, to gain more business. And the role of the ship agent and ship broker is much more than just issuing a certificate or receiving information. You know better than I do. And I think that role will adapt and change, like all businesses have to. But the use of technology just enables you to do it better than you do it 30 years ago, than you do it 10 years ago. And that's the real value. But the reduction of middlemen, I'm not convinced. I think we're just creating more middlemen. The single window, the maritime single window in Europe, was about reducing simplification. And what have we found? In most cases, it's added a process that wasn't there before in order to submit information. So actually technology, unless you're very careful, can complicate rather than simplify. It may make it quicker, but the actual process has become more complicated.
I want to add some comments on smart contracts and then a question for you, because both of you have been talking about smart contracts. I mean, smart contracts, they basically are just software which is executed on somebody else's computer probably many computers because all the nodes of the network. Both of you, I guess, at least you refer to the smart contracts of the Ethereum platform, so of the public blockchain, which is strongly coupled with cryptocurrency, which is Ether. And but what do you mean exactly by smart contract? What kind of functionalities or automation they will be providing? Because the example I am familiar with is that, let's say, something happened in the outside world, and so you need to have what they call oracles, which means somebody notifying to the blockchain, like a cargo has been arrived in the port or whatever. So you don't trust blockchain, you trust people saying, oh, the cargo arrived. And then usually triggered by that event, you have usually payments, but the payments available to the Ethereum blockchain are just in Ether, not in euro or in dollars. So do you plan to use a cryptocurrency? Or what else are you considering for smart contract automation?
Yeah, first of all, yes, we are on the Ethereum, but our platform is designed just for the transfer of bill of lading on the Ethereum. The payments, no one is paying in our system, is paying in cryptocurrency. We are issuing an invoice in a regular euros or USDs, and we are charging you in different ways. As I said previously, we adopted the blockchain technology for transferring documents, not for payments. If that was...
Was an email good enough?
No. By my point of view, and I think that all the users of bill of ladings here agree with me that email is not enough. For a document with a value, and bill of lading is a document of title, email definitely is not a good solution. For transferring $10 million value
No, but okay,
by
but
email,
what makes smart contract more reliable? What is the idea? Is like you have a bill of lading which is digitized in some way,
yeah.
but what kind of facility or insurance or safety is the smart contract providing? Because usually the reason you resort to smart contract is to have delivery versus payment. So I transfer to you the bill of lading just because at the same time you paid me. But if the payment happens on an invoice on the regular financial system, you don't have delivery versus payment. So the smart contract utility, it's not clear to me at least.
I think with the bill of lading, it's the transfer of the deed. It's like transferring a house. The bill of lading is an asset. So you're transferring the asset from one party to another. That then proves to the bank that one party has the rights to that document.
But that is a transaction, that is not a smart contract.
Yes, the bank is another intermediary.
Yeah, the bank can be another intermediary, but it depends on the platform, whether you're involving the banks directly or you're just exchanging the digital document. And that's the difference. So it's using blockchain technology, but it's not for the transfer, it's transferring the physical asset of the document as opposed to the financial asset.
Yeah.
I do understand that. I do perfectly understand that. And it's like, that's why I was referring to email, which is, we do not have a standard, but like in Italy, we have certified email. So it's like you can transfer something of value even by email. But that is, I agree, email is not the most suited transactional network. But when you do transaction, those are not contract at all. I mean, you talk about smart contract when there are two counterparties doing delivery versus payment. If you are just transferring something, that is delivery. End of the story. The payment is happening somewhere else. So this is why I think that there is a lot of...
But I didn't spoke about smart contract. I spoke, if you saw my presentation, that we have a blockchain document transfer system, and it's a transfer of document, transfer of value. That's what we have developed on our platform.
Okay, so
there is no payment involved in cryptocurrency, not at all. Because if this can be done, developed very easy, but I will ask to the audience, how many of you are willing to pay in cryptocurrency for a bill and bill of lading transaction? No one, definitely. Yeah, one. Good. 1%.
So, going back to smart contracts in shipping, first of all, I must say that there is no working application based on smart contracts related to shipping process, I mean to chartering business and also trading. But we already seen trading platforms which are based on blockchain and smart contracts. Okay, there were trials, but still they proved that this concept is viable and it is just a matter of time and adoption when we will see this on a regular basis. Because right now it's a very complicated story. Again, as you said, if there is nothing to disrupt, if there is nothing new, then we are not building anything new. We are just complicating the current business.
We could easily reuse. It's like in finance, when you do equity trading or bond trading, you're trading digital artifacts representing value. You don't send them by email, but you do not have any kind of blockchain or smart contract. You just use a central repository, a clearinghouse, and that does work. I think that the Bolero initiative, I'm not familiar with it, but is trying to do something like this, like to be a central repository of digital assets. So if you want to transfer the digitization of the bill of lading, well, you need a transactional network. You don't need a blockchain. It's like, especially because when you talk about smart contracts are triggered by some events. And so you have to rely on the oracle, on the news agency, on the agent, on the intermediary, just signaling that event.
Yes.
So it's not trustless at all. It's like, well, it's some automation maybe, but it's not clear how this match logically on the issue at hand. I do agree, digitization, automation, well, this is the way the world is evolving, but blockchain, smart contracts, seems to me like they are evocative names which kind of obfuscate the logic of what is really happening behind.
Maybe that, but have you seen, let's say, a Gen Con charter party?
Sorry?
There is a Gen Con pro forma charter party for moving bulk cargoes. There is, usually it is like if we are trading some cargo from one port to another, then we will have to sign it. First of all, we have to negotiate on it, and then we will have to sign it, let's say, for example, digital sign. But still, I mean, that's the complex document.
But that was exactly my point. Is like you have to think about the process. I mean, shipping is a real global business, and so it's hard to have central clearinghouse or central counterparty because geopolitical situation will not favor that because it works on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's the only business that never stops. And not even finance. Finance does stop on those days. But, and so you have to understand the process and you have to easy and smooth communication, but it's not just evoking some blockchain magic that geopolitical complexities will get resolved or people that are closed on a given day will open up their offices or that you will reach agreement between different authorities and you have to think, if there was a message in my presentation is that you have to think about the complexity of the processes and see how you can improve the process and then to find a solution for improving that process. But it's not clear how smart contracting something or using blockchain improves exactly what, but I might be missing some point. I'm curious if the audience has a clear picture of this.
We have a question from the audience.
Yes. First of all, thank you for your presentation. Everything really interesting, and especially even this last part of the discussion with Mr. Armetrano. I have to admit that I came here really with a lot of questions about blockchain and with a lot of enthusiasm about blockchain. And thanks to your clear presentation, I will leave with less questions and with less enthusiasm as well. But coming back to my question, what is the approach that China is taking related to blockchain? Are they moving faster than us, seeing that their cultural background is more keen to technology? Or how do you see that? Thank you.
China's an interesting topic. They will use it where it's appropriate. We have a relationship with Alibaba, and we are working closely with them. They do have a number of blockchain projects, but they just see it as another tool within their arsenal of technology in order to share information. It's not the answer to everything, they know that. To give you some idea, after Singles Day last week, where they took $32 billion worth of goods sales in a single day, they dispatched 1 billion packages the following day, in a single day. Blockchain cannot cope with that sort of volume at the current time. The computing power that is needed to support that is immense. So they are looking at it, somebody like Alibaba, more from the point of view of supporting their small and medium-sized companies, particularly the farmers, proof of product coming from a certain area, such as melons coming from the province of Xi'an. They're now enabling their small and medium-sized businesses and micro businesses to sell their products, but with proof of where it's come from. So they're using it more for that than in terms of technology that I've seen. There are companies and shipping lines that are involved in a number of the initiatives globally, but everybody seems to be quite cautious at the moment. And I think we have to be clear. Cryptocurrency, and it's been said, Igor said it, is just using blockchain technology. So where we try and talk about the conversation that was just had about smart contracts, when we talk about a contract, it will be different from a financial contract. We might talk about a bill of lading, that's a contract. We're talking about smart contracts in terms of a transaction, such as a container release. That's a contract. It may not be financial, but it's actually a transaction. But technology such as blockchain can be used to help that. So it will have its place, but we're not falling behind China in that respect. In fact, China's learning from Europe to a certain degree, not just on blockchain, but on other technologies, particularly in logistics and shipping. So hopefully that sort of helps your answer a little bit.
Yeah, if I may add just some statistic on China, because we follow it, and it's not regarding shipping, as Richard said, but regarding blockchain as general. 2017, there were 291 patents on blockchain in the world, 201 in China. So they hold the major part of the patents in the world. And second thing, they announced that they would like to be, out of 2020, the leading blockchain nation in the world. So I think that they are quite far behind us. Far ahead.
Hello. Hello, everyone. I am the Panama consul in Genoa, and I'm representing the Panama Registry. And I'm following up on Mr. Morton's previous comments on the electronic certificates. I just wanted to add that Panama, for almost a year now, has already been issuing electronic certificates for vessels. And as for the IMO, we are pushing hard for our competitors and partners to also use the technology. Just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of that, and Denmark as well, and a number of other countries. The challenge is the countries where the ships call don't always accept them. So this is the problem. That one country, Panama, is very far advanced in issuing ship certificates, etc., electronically, but when it calls in Spain, they don't accept them electronically. So it comes back to how do we get the regulation across the world in line, and that's the biggest challenge we have. Panama, one of the leading parties at the IMO, is constantly pushing forward to get consensus, but it's very difficult to get those 160, 170 countries together in that respect.
So, question for Ferdinando. You asked feedback from us, and for what I understood, the practical cases presented here represent probably a residual use of the whole blockchain concept, as probably just now we have a transfer of data, of documents, okay, no smart contract, okay, but anyway, practically the miner is just replacing the old concept of the data administrator, I would say, more or less. So I understand what you probably say, there is we have other options on the table for doing this. So this is probably not the future as we said, but just another option. I would like to understand your opinion about this option. Do you think it could be technologically or economically and so on, or for the secure purposes, better than the other options on the table?
Okay, well, I do not claim to be an expert on shipping, so some of my proposal might be naive. And of course, I think that digitization is crucial. Paper is inefficient, and so any business which is heavily paper-based is going to revise their processes. And I think that fair and deep thinking about the processes is the crucial starting point. Blockchain is not a general-purpose technology, and this is my opinion, but I'm backed by facts. There is not a single application of blockchain technology but Bitcoin, but cryptocurrency so far. Let's see in the next couple of years. What blockchain can do, the digital gold jewelry I've been talking about, is to provide timestamping on any kind of digital document. So whenever you're moving from a paper-based business process to a digitized document business process, it's almost a no-brainer to just add timestamping, okay? So that you can prove that that document was created at that time, okay? Now, I think that mostly borrowing from my finance experience is that finance, in order to reach efficiency, has gone through a centralization process, not a decentralization one. Okay, we have central authorities, we have central clearinghouse, we have central depository, central repositories, and that is the way, the easier way to grant that digital documents do not get duplicated, abused, stolen, or especially, it's like the electronic bill of lading cannot be stolen, cannot be lost. Why becoming electronic cannot be lost? I mean, anything electronic can be lost. I've lost MP3 files, I've lost documents, so I've lost Bitcoin. Well, that was sad, don't remind me that. And yes, in the early days I did that. So it's like there is no panacea. You have to proper understand what blockchain is and which kind of benefit can provide. Those benefits are marginal. They are, well, marginal is not the right word. They are not decisive. They are not, disruptive, but they can harden a business process. But you have to think about your business processes. Okay? The advantage of something being digitized is that it can always be printed out. So you need a piece of paper, I can print it out. You are okay with digital document, you can accept that. And, but still it's like a clear explanation of the process. It's like you are automating something with a smart contract. What is the smart contract doing? Is there a payment involved? Is it just a transfer of ownership of something? It's like, okay, digitized bill of lading transferred by smart contract. Who is issuing that bill of lading is the right question, because not everybody can issue like on the Ethereum platform. So it's like if you are using a given smart contract, you have an authority issuing maybe on your behalf, but I will sympathize with the question that, is that my bill of lading or not? And these kind of questions are very technical. They should be properly assessed in a clear way.
Just to add, it's interesting. One of the biggest jobs of agents and others are the exceptions. If everything is fine, it runs very smoothly. The problem that you have are the exceptions. What happens if your HS code doesn't meet your goods description code? How do you then change that? Do you have to start all over again and create a new blockchain document? So I think the exceptions are one of the biggest challenges to the blockchain at the moment, because you have to understand the processes, and we know that those exceptions happen in all sorts of forms. The ship's name may change when it's in port because it's been purchased by somebody else. How do you work all of that? So it's possible, and I think it's just seeing blockchain as another technology to use in the appropriate circumstances.
That's true, but how is in real life when you're sending a BL with a courier? So it can happen the same thing, just that you will spend 10 or 14 days or even more instead of few seconds. That's the big difference.
Any more questions?
My question is referred to Mr. Kotilevsky's speech and reference to our professions, because we all know that these kind of platforms can be a danger, a threat for our professions, but we also know very well how complicated is our profession and our job. So I see it very difficult for a single platform to destroy our professions. For sure, they will change our way to work, and this is why I think very much the job of IPCSA, because it's very important to understand how this technology will affect our profession. But I also see very difficult for a single platform to destroy a profession of a local expert, like a ship agent, like a ship broker. So my question is, don't you think that our profession can be involved with these platforms? Because actually I know that platforms and systems like yours and ShipNext are actually used by the brokers. So thank you.
I was trying to say that the ship brokers wouldn't be pushed out of the business. I was trying to say that the profession and the professionals in this industry would have to evolve and change. And I might add only that almost half of our users right now are ship brokers. That's not a thing. I mean, we are not building it against ship brokers. It's just a tool, like you were using fax machine or email. It's just another tool which is helping to communicate with each other, to get the communications on another level, and also the business level. I mean, as soon as you have more time for business-focused processes, so you don't have to, let's say, call hundreds of clients, you don't have to throw an email and wait for a day if somebody will reply to it. Instead of that process, you got the matching it's just based on algorithms. So as soon as you are placing the cargo offer, you are getting the suitable ship instantly. And if there are few ships, then your job is to just select the best one. And that is why I think even with next level of technology, at the end there will be a human being who will choose the right decision. That's it.
So we can see these systems as a way of helping our profession to be simplified and
Sure.
not...
If somebody still don't see this, then it's your mistake.
But if I may add on this, it's like there is something about shipping that is intrinsically physical. I mean, cargo, containers, this is never going to be a purely digital economy, okay? So even the observation that you as professionals are located nearby to the port. You cannot have your business geographically removed from that. It's a guarantee that intermediaries will always be needed. Recently, I came up with some metaphor for digitization in general. I was using email in 1992. And in 1992, very few people were using email, at least in Italy. And I might have said at that time, I could have said at that time, that you could deliver pizza as attachment to an email, okay? And I'm pretty confident that most of the people I was talking with would have had no problem with that sentence, you know? They didn't know what email was. So if this day I could say that blockchain or smart contract can solve all the business process, it's something very similar. What I could have meant in 1992 is that you could order pizza by email and somebody else will deliver it to you. So the intermediaries, the guy delivering the pizza, is still in business, even if we now order pizza by email and not just by phone or showing up in person or the day before.
What would you suggest to a young person who works in shipping or who approaches shipping to focus on? Computer science or just shipping business? Which one would you suggest to a young person?
Me?
To all of you.
Standards. For me, I think standards are the critical element. Technology and other things you can find, but many of you will know about the UN EDIFACT. But how are those messages? So, for example, EMSA, the European Maritime Safety Agency, no longer has anybody who understands EDIFACT. They only understand XML. So, bearing in mind it's maritime safety, and all of the shipping lines and others are using EDIFACT, and the main safety agency can only accept XML, it becomes a problem. So understanding the basic semantics, the way data is, and also the process flows. What we're missing at the moment is understanding of the whole chain. The agents are ones that do understand the chain from the importer to the exporter. PCSs, port community systems, do the same thing. However, if you talk to others, they understand, the shipping lines understand their part, but you start bringing them in the rest of the supply chain, it becomes a problem. So I think standards, process flows of information for both business to business and business to government would be the way to focus. The technology is becoming easier and easier to implement because there's lots of different apps, solutions, technology providers to do that. It's trying to combine the younger generation using that technology with understanding the actual business, because we're all in the same business, and that's the critical part. You have to understand the business before you can start creating solutions for it.
I'm sorry that I guess you would expect a technical answer, but I can only say what is my answer when my children or my students ask something like this. And I always say, do whatever you like, because you only live once, and hopefully your job should be something you get pleasure out of it. And of course, do it with all the intensity you are able and the capability you are able of, because the competition is stiff It's huge. And in order to be top of your game, you need to understand. So think about the processes, think about what is going on, think about the relation between things. And because that will be quite daunting, do it in whatever you like. If it is computer science, do computer science. I mean, I have a scientific background. My older daughter is studying humanities. Well, I would have hoped for something else, but it's fine, it's her life. I hope that she gets an enjoyment out of that, and that might be turned out to be professionally wise.
May I ask a question to Mr. Metrano? I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Since we saw that there is no problem of double spending in this kind of application, and that smart contracts are not an option since there is no cryptocurrency involved. So don't you think that using distributed ledger and blockchain in this kind of application is a minus and not a plus? That this application could have been done just with distributed databases on something more efficient and not so new. And I think that blockchain introduces the digital goods and not the representation of goods, so that in this kind of application, using a not efficient process, there is no consensus involved. So it's just a means. It's just something more complicated compared to the way that could have been done the same way, not using such new technology.
I think you're getting the point, absolutely. Blockchain technology is not a general purpose technology, it's meant for purely native digital assets. And it's complicated because of that. Instead, if you want digital representation of a real asset, of existing physical asset, well, you can learn something from blockchain technology, but you're probably better served by traditional technologies. I'll provide you an example from the financial system. I've been working with a major Italian bank until last summer, and we did some digitization process for cash for the Italian Central Bank and European Central Bank, okay? And the assignment was to use DLT, distributed ledger technologies. And it was really an exciting project. We did it because what we were borrowing cryptography underlying transaction, the applied cryptography I've been talking about, and that was pretty much effective. I would have selected that one. And then we were using also blockchain. I would have never used a blockchain per se. But the idea was that, okay, if this project goes on and on, I got the setup almost for free. I know that blockchain does not scale up, okay, because Ethereum blockchain, come on. The moment they launch a new CryptoKitties, you're familiar with that? Tamagotchi, virtual Tamagotchi. For 3 days, the network is frozen. You cannot do that. You can try to transfer that bill of lading during a CryptoKitty mania, and you will see blockchain handles something like 7 transactions per second. So it does not scale up. I've been guilty of using DLTs just to be quick time to market and to play with the marketing flavor. Central banks requested us to do that. But my idea was that if we went further, if you would have went further, we would have used the cryptography of transaction backed by distributed databases which scale up tremendously. So I agree with you. This is a technology well suited for purely native intrinsic digital asset. For digital representation of real analogic physical asset, not so good. We just can rely on cryptography to transfer properly, to transfer quickly, to use internet basically, internet as a means of communication.
Hello everybody. I have a couple of questions for Professor Ametrano. We spent a lot of time talking about matters related to freight forwarders, an agent, and a shipbroker, but I'm much more interested on the trading side. So the first question is, do you think it's possible to correlate cryptocurrency to physical commodities? I think that someone is trying with petroleum, for example. And the second question is, I think 2 years that we heard about big companies, mostly oil majors, try to build up a sort of panel to build up a trading platform. Do you think it's possible to apply blockchain to speed up the process for trading commodities?
Well, so the first question is about, I will rephrase it if I'm correct, about aging financial risk. So what is the correlation between crypto asset and other asset, investment asset? The good news, unless you were expecting for maybe the contrary, but the good news is that crypto assets are usually completely uncorrelated with existing assets like commodities or currencies or equities or bonds. This is usually what do you want to manage your financial risks, because if an asset is uncorrelated with other assets, it provides a lot of diversification in your risk. So this is a good news, and this is probably why crypto assets are here to stay. Instead, again, blockchain solution for trading, blockchain can only handle 7 transactions per second. Visa can handle 600 transactions per second, because Visa is a centralized provider, and instead the cost of decentralization of blockchain is huge. Now, I mean, I'm an advocate about decentralized when it comes to money, but for many other things in life, I think that centralization is pretty fair. It's pretty effective. So I think that for whoever wants to improve from, technically speaking, the trading or whatever, I will never look at blockchain for improvements.
Just if I may add, there is already a blockchain solution for trading in Switzerland for sugar.
And clear metal for trading steels.
No.
So there are already a bunch of them. And I know also that there will be also the blockchain solution for trading petroleum. I know a few guys who already trying to build something like that for some period of time, and there were a number of people approaching me, asking some questions, something like that. So I think that there will be such platform for sure. Somebody will build it.
I will warn to discriminate between press releases as something really in production stage. I think that, as with most of the blockchain initiative in the last 3 years, those are just press releases and you know, a couple of nodes doing something on their own lab, but this is very far away from reaching any kind of production stage.
Yeah, we are in production stage already, and I will just would like to add a comment when you said the difference in between Visa transaction and Ethereum transactions. I think that Visa is quite more scalable, much more users in the world, and it cannot be comparable in between exchange of bill of ladings or some other documents.
Any more questions from the audience? Arriving.
I have a question for the Professor Armetrano. I see some correlation between the tulip flowers crisis and the Bitcoin moment that is, in this moment, is plunging the value. Given that the the Bitcoin are digital, and in the digital aspects, the assets tend to be, in a moment, really fascinating, and in 1 year, 2 years' times are not. Don't you see a risk that in 1 year time, 2 years' times, less and less miners will be interested in investing money, and so we will have a less value of the Bitcoin, and so we will have less people giving the proof of work of things that are linked to the blockchain of Bitcoin?
Not sure this conference or this seminar is about discussing crypto assets, but just out of courtesy and out of passion, I might confess. Well, it's intellectually dishonest to compare Bitcoin and tulips. I mean, a phenomenon which has been in 4 centuries ago, which has lasted 6 months or maybe, to be generous, 3 years, cannot be really compared with something which is going on from 10 years now in the global economy of information of 2018. I mean, we have a much wider and deeper access to information, and so it's not comparable. Sustainability in time, well, intellectual honesty, I mean, Bitcoin is a huge experiment. It could fail, definitely. I have no guarantees that it might work in the future. What I can tell you is that it's not a fraud, it's not a Ponzi scheme, it's an ambitious experiment that might fail. If it does not fail, this is a turning point in history, because we are progressively digitized society, and what the digital world is missing is scarcity. And Bitcoin is introducing scarcity in the digital realm, and that is going to play a huge relevant role if it works. So about sustainability, we'll see. It's 10 years now, about 100 billion US dollars. It's not really, you know, a toy or a playground for kids, but it will have to prove it.
Well, we arrived at the end of our morning, unfortunately. Thank you, special thanks for our speakers, and thank you for your attention. There is a light cocktail offered by Assagenti downstairs, so we're happy to spend also a few minutes with you. Thank you very much. Thank you.